let's face it, none of us like paying taxes. So what can we do to make sure that maybe we don't have to pay taxes in the future? Well, we could start a nonprofit like a church because nonprofits don't pay any taxes, right? Right? Well, I guess they do pay payroll tax. Okay, so nonprofits will pay payroll tax, but generally they're exempt from what I like to call the big three. You see, money coming in from anyone else is generally going to be subject to income tax, which again will be exempt from a nonprofit perspective. Now, what if we held on to this cash, but we converted it into property? Well, if we held on to this property, normies like you and I will be subject to property taxes, which again are also going to be exempt from the nonprofit side. But if we take this money and we spend it, again, normies like you and I get hit with sales tax. But again, nonprofits are generally exempt from that as well. So again, the big three here categories are generally exempt. But there is a specific type of income tax that nonprofits need to think about because potentially it could be very costly, not only from just a dollar's perspective, but also from a legality standpoint. I mean, you could lose your nonprofit status if you are hit with this specific type of tax. And that's called UBIT, or Unrelated Business Income Tax. And see, if we take UBIT and spell it out, we can dissect it and see exactly what's going on. You see, it's ultimately a tax on the income that was sourced from something that was unrelated to the nonprofit's business. You see, UBIT was created to make sure that nonprofits didn't have an unfair advantage, especially in pricing in the open market. So let's say hypothetically there's a church in town that does not have services on Friday nights. Now, it's a shame because that's a nice sized church. It's got a nice sized stage and lots of seating, and they already have lights and PA systems already hooked up and ready to go. But again, Friday nights, there's nothing going on. So why don't we turn that church into a music venue on Friday nights? Heck, great for me because I get to dust off my instrument and get to hang and fellowship with other musicians. Maybe kids can learn how to play music and learn more about the rock and roll scene and all that fun stuff. Sounds great to me, and the church could even charge a little bit of money in order to have a little bit of extra income, because like I said, it just sits vacant on Fridays. But is that considered UBIT? Well, potentially, but again, it kind of gets a little bit more complicated. You see, first off, we have to look at the flow of money to even consider if UBIT is even a possibility. So, for example, on these Friday nights, if the church is selling tickets to people like you and I in order to attend and, again, play on stage or at least get to sit in the audience, again, if the church is collecting the money, and the church, divvies up that money to staff and the bands and whatnot, more than likely that may be considered UBIT. But if patrons are paying a third party, like maybe like a music group or the bands directly, and the church gets the money on the back end, really that's going to look no different than just plain old rent, like if people, rent out the church for a birthday party or a wedding. So in that case, maybe it's less likely to be UBIT, but again, UBIT is pretty complicated and a lot of questions arise. So again, got to follow the money and we got to ask questions.